Well, President Trump's nominee for Attorney General has come under fire for a memo that he sent to the Justice Department leaders earlier this year. In the memo, Bill Barr appeared to criticize the approach Robert Mueller was taking in investigating possible obstruction of justice. He writes, moreover, in my view, if credited by the department, it would have grave consequences far beyond the immediate confines of this case and would do lasting damage to the presidency and to the administration of law within the executive branch. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein received that memo and was asked about it today.
Bill Barr was an excellent Attorney General during the approximately 14 months that he served in 1991 to 1993. Bill Barr will be an outstanding Attorney General when he's confirmed next year. The memo that you may reference to reflects Mr. Barr's personal opinion. He shared his personal opinion with the department. Lots of people offer opinions to the Department of Justice, but they don't influence our own decision making. We have very experienced lawyers, and obviously our decisions are informed by our knowledge of the actual facts of the case, which Mr. Barr didn't have. I didn't share any confidential information with Mr. Barr. He never requested that we provide any non-public information to him, and that memo had no impact on our investigation.
CBS News Washington correspondent Paula Reid was at the press conference. She joins me now from Washington. Paula, so Rosenstein downplayed the memo, but what exactly was Barr's concern with the Mueller probe?
This was an unsolicited memo that Barr sent to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, objecting to the idea that the president is being investigated for possible obstruction of justice for firing former FBI Director James Comey. In this very strongly worded memo, Barr argues that it's the president's discretion if he wants to fire his FBI director. And Barr says, look, the president shouldn't be, quote, interrogated over this. This should not be something that he is forced to answer questions about. Now, this is a perfectly viable legal theory, Rena. Many legal scholars have debated whether or not the president could have obstructed justice by doing something that was within his authority. The problem is the special counsel's investigation into possible obstruction of justice by the president goes well beyond the firing of James Comey. They're also looking at comments the president made to the deputy FBI director, Andrew McCabe, as well as the many public and private comments he made to his former Attorney General Jeff Sessions as part of an overall examination about whether or not the president was trying to use his authority to disrupt this investigation. But we can be sure that this memo will come up during Barr's confirmation hearing.
And Paul, you have some reporting on Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, who had faced these calls to recuse himself. What's really the update on this?
That's right. Today, we spoke with a veteran U.S. attorney who's been working with Whitaker on this process over the last 6 weeks as he decided whether or not he needed to recuse himself in the special counsel investigation. What we learned is that ethics officials decided that if Whitaker asked them, that they would likely advise him to recuse himself out of an abundance of caution. They said, look, this is a close call. You don't have any client involved here. You don't have any cash involved in here. But you did make these previous comments that were disparaging of the investigation. So we would likely, if asked, advise you to step aside. But Whitaker did not ask them directly. He was working with a small team of advisors, and they got together and they looked at all the information, and they decided that they did not think Whitaker should be the first attorney general to have to recuse himself because of a, quote, close call that was really about an appearance of impropriety as opposed to a financial concern or having represented a client. So they didn't ask, they weren't told, and Whitaker has decided he will not recuse himself from this investigation.
So at this point, what role do you see Whitaker playing in the investigation?
Well, it's going to parallel how the Justice Department works. Typically, the Deputy Attorney General runs the day-to-day operations of the Justice Department, and the Attorney General oversees sort of the big picture, but is the ultimate boss. And what we learned is over the past 6 weeks since Whitaker has taken office, Rod Rosenstein has continued to oversee the day-to-day operations of the Russia investigation. In fact, Rena, Whitaker has not received a single update or briefing on the Russia probe. But going forward, Rosenstein will continue to oversee the day-to-day operations, but now Whitaker will receive briefings and he will have a final say. So they'll oversee Mueller the same way they do their day job, the way they do the Justice Department oversight.
That's interesting to hear. You also asked Rosenstein about the recent controversies surrounding National Enquirer publisher American Media Inc. What was his response?
What's so interesting, Rena, is now that we know that Whitaker has not been overseeing the Russia investigation, we know that it was Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein who not only approved the charges brought against Michael Cohen, but also this non-prosecution agreement with AMI. And the question that I asked is, why didn't you charge AMI? They didn't even get a fine, even though they admitted to trying to interfere with the free and fair election in 2016. And I asked, are you holding corporations to a different standard than you are holding individuals? The lack of sort of corporate accountability is something that has dogged the Trump Justice Department. Now, Rod Rosenstein shut that question down. He said he would not address it in that press conference. So that was actually a pretty surprising response because, again, this is a publicly available document, this non-prosecution agreement, and it does seem to be a fair question about why certain entities are being prosecuted while others, including AMI, are getting a free pass, even though they all meddled in the election.
Paula Reid coming to us from our Washington bureau. Paula, thank you.